On the night of November 13th, 1974, a 28-year-old woman named Karen Silkwood was driving alone on a highway in Oklahoma. She was on her way to meet a New York Times journalist and a union official. In her car, she had documents she had spent weeks gathering. Documents that proved her employer was falsifying safety records on nuclear fuel rods being supplied to a government breeder reactor. She never arrived at the meeting. Her car was found crushed against a concrete culvert wall. She was dead. The documents were never found. An independent accident reconstruction expert concluded her car had been struck from behind by another vehicle before it left the road. The FBI found evidence consistent with a rear-end collision. No charges were ever filed. No one was ever identified as responsible. And the documents that could have exposed one of the most serious nuclear safety cover-ups in American history vanished completely. Karen Silkwood took a job at the Kerr-McGee plutonium fuel fabrication plant near Crescent, Oklahoma, in 1972. The plant manufactured plutonium fuel pellets for nuclear reactors. Plutonium is one of the most toxic substances on Earth. Inhaling even a microscopic amount can cause lung cancer. The safety protocols at a facility handling plutonium were supposed to be stringent and rigorously enforced. Silkwood became a union representative and began gathering information about safety conditions at the plant. What she found alarmed her. Safety violations were widespread and systematic. Plutonium contamination of workers was occurring more frequently than the company was reporting. Quality control records on the fuel rods were being falsified. Welds that failed inspection were being approved anyway, with their defects airbrushed out of the documentation photographs. Defective nuclear fuel rods supplied to a breeder reactor represented a potential safety catastrophe. Silkwood began documenting everything. She presented her findings to union officials and to the Atomic Energy Commission, which sent investigators to the plant. Their investigation found some violations, but concluded they were not as serious as Silkwood had claimed. She was not satisfied and kept gathering evidence. Then something happened that changed everything. In early November 1974, Silkwood was found to be contaminated with plutonium. Not at the plant. At home. Her apartment was contaminated with plutonium. Her refrigerator contained food that was contaminated with plutonium. The plutonium found in her apartment matched the specific isotopic signature of plutonium produced at the Kerr-McGee facility. Kerr-McGee suggested Silkwood had contaminated herself deliberately to embarrass the company. Silkwood and her union believed the company had contaminated her home as a warning. How plutonium from a nuclear facility ended up in her refrigerator has never been explained. By mid-November, Silkwood had arranged to meet a New York Times reporter and her union official to hand over documents proving the safety violations. On the evening of November 13th, she left a union meeting and got into her car alone. She never arrived. Her car was found shortly after 8 p.m., crushed against a concrete culvert. Oklahoma state troopers initially concluded she had fallen asleep at the wheel. Her blood contained traces of a sedative. But an independent accident reconstruction expert hired by her family found dents and scrape marks on the rear of her car, consistent with being struck from behind by another vehicle. The FBI examined the scene and found evidence consistent with that analysis. The investigation was eventually closed without identifying a responsible party. The documents Silkwood had been carrying were never found in or near the wreckage. Her colleagues confirmed she had definitely had them when she left the meeting. In 1979, the Silkwood family filed a civil lawsuit against Kerr-McGee. The jury awarded $10.5 million in damages, including punitive damages, for the company's reckless handling of plutonium. Kerr-McGee eventually settled for $1.38 million after years of appeals. No one was ever criminally charged with Karen Silkwood's death. No one was ever charged with the contamination of her apartment. No one was ever charged with the disappearance of her documents. Karen Silkwood was 28 years old. She had 3 children. She had been gathering evidence of corporate wrongdoing at personal risk for months. She had been contaminated with plutonium in her own home, in circumstances that were never explained. She was on her way to hand documents to a journalist when she died, and the documents were gone before anyone looked for them. A woman drove to a meeting to expose a corporation's crimes. She never arrived. Everything she was carrying vanished. Nobody has ever taken responsibility for any of it.